We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Well, good morning. I was sitting here waiting for 8:15 to come, and I had no idea. And so thank you very much. That's a nice way to start, isn't it? A good way to surrender. My God. And happy Sunday to all. Welcome, and thank you all for showing up this morning or afternoon or night, evening, wherever you are. So, Sina, you're going to play the the first song, which is Awakening Together, and then we can all greet each other. Okay. Now I'm supposed to do my statement of purpose and, or the Awakening Together statement of purpose, which happens to be my statement of purpose too. Okay. We are assembly of equals, join in common purpose, awakening to one true self, within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols. We seek to discern on truth and to rest in its embrace. The core value I've chosen is core value number 1. We trust everyone is led by a unique inner guidance to one experience, which is realization of the one true self. We live this value by supporting one another on different paths of awakening. Will you play my opening song, The Webb Sisters with Leonard Cohen? It will be your will, if it will be your will. Thank you, Sina. I am going to introduce Joseph. Of course, you all know Joseph, and he's going to be my reader. He's going to read from certain chapters from Inner Ramana. And since I missed the opening, I guess Sina spoke about what I was going to discuss. Okay, so I will tell you that. I am continuing my journey to self-realization, and I'm specifically using the Inner Ramana. And it's been a 1.5-year journey. And now I'm focusing on surrender. Because, as I said before, my last homily, that I had difficulty with devotion and remembering to say the mantra. And so, but self-inquiry was more easier for me. And I was really making progress in that. But guidance, well, I wanted to surrender. I really felt that I needed to do the whole thing. And what guidance had told me or asked me or told me that to do the surrender mantra, self-inquiry, as stated in Inner Ramana, precisely the best I could. And I confirmed that over and over and over again. And it was still the same. So, Joseph, you can start. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruby. Good morning, everyone. And volume okay? Can be heard? All right. From the Teachings of Inner Ramana, the first reading is The Purpose of Surrender. We are going to learn not to listen to the mind. We are going to learn not to listen to the mind, first, by listening to another voice, which speaks through the mind, but does not speak from mind, for mind, or with mind. This voice can see mind, and it sees all that mind sees when it looks through mind. But it is outside of mind, so it is not confused about reality. This voice speaks through the filter, so its knowledge can be interpreted for those who still listen to and believe the filter. But this voice is not confused by the filter that it uses. This is the purpose of surrender. Be guided by a voice that is not confused when you are still at a place in mind, a level of vibration where you can be confused or not confused. In this state, the only way to ensure you have not stepped into confusion is to consistently check with the voice that isn't confused and ask it, what are you to do now? The question, what am I to do now, is not just a question about activity, although physical guidance is within the realm of guidance given by this voice. The question, what am I to do now, also includes, how am I to see this? How shall I listen? How shall I be now? What am I to hear? What would you have me know? What is my perspective as given by you? How shall I respond? What shall I think? What would you have me see in me that I am not seeing? The question, what am I to do now, is a fully inclusive question in which the one who perceives himself as having a separate body and separate mind turns that seemingly separate entity over fully and entirely, so that no seeming independence can be said to remain as separate and on its own existence. This is the idea of being fully plugged in and running on the power of another, or one that is greater. But this perception of running on another is only held to as long as the perception of possible independence persists. Once that perception has died, the possibility of perceiving another to surrender to has died also. The Purpose of Surrender, Part 2. The mind creates experience that is not real. It is illusion or fantasy, and it is created for the purpose of enjoyment or pleasure. But when the mind forgets reality and sees the unreal as real, fear is a necessary component. The mind is afraid because the unnatural is not natural. The mind that has forgotten reality knows that something is wrong, but it does not know what that is. It projects stories in an effort to give itself a reason for its fear, but it cannot find the answer it seeks because it is looking in the wrong direction. Its fear does not come from its own projections, and so solutions to those projections cannot end fear. Fear comes simply from not knowing reality. Therefore, the only answer to fear is to let go of what is false and to remember reality is true. Discarding the world is as simple as remembering that it isn't true. This is as simple as living from within instead of from without. Instructions for using the mantra. There are several lines in this section that are in bold italics, and I will repeat those lines for emphasis for those of you who aren't reading along at home. So, instructions for using the mantra. Today, let's talk about the practice of the mantra and how this practice is best used to quiet the mind. The quieting of mind is essential to awakening or to realization of self. This is because thinking acts as a blanket that covers self and hides it completely from view. Therefore, it makes sense that if one is to realize self, he must remove the blanket. This is the purpose of the mantra. When it is not used fully to remove the blanket completely, it can still be used partially to enable one to have peaks beneath the blanket. These peaks are helpful, valuable in fact, to the realization of self, because they help one to realize the goal in a very real way. This increases the desire to strive for the goal through devotion and practice. So our purpose is to quiet the mind as much as possible. And it is also our purpose to quiet the mind in a sincere way, which is different than quieting the mind through denial or fear. Let me teach you how to use the mantra. The first rule of following the practice of mantra is you will use the mantra as often as you remember. You will use the mantra as often as you remember. Try to avoid remembering the use of mantra and still choosing not to use it. Resistance may come into the mind in this way. The reminder of mantra may appear, and then a thought that you are too busy in the moment to do it properly, and so it is better to do it later. That is nonsense. If the reminder of the mantra has come into the mind now, then now is the perfect time to do it. The second rule of practicing the mantra is it can be done with eyes open or eyes closed. It can be done with eyes open or eyes closed. Eyes closed can help to bring full focus to the mantra, but if one is involved in an activity, such as driving, when the reminder comes to do the mantra, the restrictions brought about by the activity are not limiting to the usefulness of the mantra. Rule 3 is to practice the mantra with love and devotion. Practice the mantra with love and devotion. Say the mantra from the heart. I have told you that the mantra is a gift of awakening. Cherish it as a very precious gift. In the moments that you give to the mantra, give with the love that you would give to the most precious of all gifts. The mantra is a practice of devotion, love, and discipline, consistency. But let the heart focus on love. Discipline is the decision to practice the mantra every time you remember, but love is the way to practice. Rule 4 is that you be willing to stay in the stillness of the mantra. Be willing to stay in the stillness of the mantra. Before the reminder of the mantra appeared, the mind may have been busy with world-based thoughts. You are not taking a break from thoughts when you say the mantra and then quickly returning to the world. You are using the mantra to let go of thoughts because they have no real importance. You are releasing your attachment to illusion and returning the mind to the heart, which is peace and stillness and willingness to listen only to me. This is the practice of the mantra. Done in love and with great joyous, done in love and with great and joyous willingness, the benefit to realization is also great. The mantra is, I am that I am. And the last reading is from Pain and Purification. Question: what is pain? Inner teacher: pain is nothing. When you ask the question, what is pain? You ask as if the answer is, it is something. And you ask as if I can give you a special formula that will help you to permanently avoid this something you do not like. But I cannot give you a formula that will help you avoid something if that something is nothing. I can only ask you to trust me when I tell you it is nothing. Questioner: I feel what you're saying as you say it, and I can even feel the edge of realization that teaches pain is nothing. But I feel I need more. Please talk to me about pain and the practice of purification and how all of this fits with your teachings. Inner teacher: purification seems necessary as long as you're identified with the false I. For as long as you think you are it, you will also think that you are experiencing pain. But the key words in the previous sentence are think and you. Who is this you that experiences pain? Isn't it also the one who thinks? Isn't it also the mind that defines and separates? Is this mind what you are? And if not, then is it true that you are experiencing pain? You see, the placement of your identity is more important than you may have previously thought it was. It is more important and more profound. If you place your identity with a false identity I in the thinking mind, then you experience everything it thinks up to prove that it exists. You are fully invested in it, and you fully experience all of its experiences. But this does not change the fact that you are not it, and it and the experience that come from it are fully and perfectly illusion. You see, the answer is this. The answer is to realize that it is not you. This is why self-inquiry works. As you realize the illusion is illusion, and it is not you, you are not affected by its dreams because you have found yourself to be beyond them, and before them, and above them. Your mind, or attention, is anchored at a depth where they do not exist. Therefore, they touch you not. Thank you.
Joseph. I'm going to start from the end and maybe work myself up to the beginning. I'm starting with pain and purification. I had prayed and asked guidance to show me all the blockages or the false beliefs that were preventing me from self-realization and dissolving the ego. Because the ego is, well, what Inner Ramana says. And also, seems like Course in Miracles says this too, I don't know. It is the false identification of the I. So I have been on a purging episode, which has started in April and is still going on. And it has gotten so intense. It's unbelievable. But what has happened is that my resolve has increased, my faith has increased, my dedication has increased, and my willingness has increased, and my trust is off the charts. And it is, I'm thinking it is, has to do with my dedication and my sincerity from the beginning. But, and also, you have to surrender is difficult. It is difficult. The teachings of Inner Ramana is simple, but it's difficult to do. So over the past week, I have been in pain and suffering in my mind. Of course, I now know that suffering doesn't exist. And my guidance has been showing me where I'm attached. And it is unbelievable. It's no joke for this one. I had no idea of the attachments, and as they were coming up. So the last 2 days, I'd say the last 2 days before this week, because the week trying to prepare for this homily, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't read. I couldn't pray. The things just kept coming. But I had my guidance with me every step of the way. So before this week, the last 2 days, I woke up in pain. And it wasn't any physical pain. It was, I couldn't understand where the pain was. I looked in my body, I sat down, and I just said, I'm going to be with this pain. It wasn't my body, it wasn't. And then I said, the pain is in my mind. It took me a while to figure that one out. But my mind is not who I am. And I know that. But it took me a while to do that. And so the pain disappeared. And that was a revelation for me. And so over the past week, I couldn't do anything. And so I was, trying to read and trying to figure out what I was doing. I had all these notes and typed up stuff, and I just couldn't get it together. And one of the things that guidance has told me is to be in the moment, be here now. And for some reason, I couldn't see what the moment would offer me. I said, there's nothing I can't remember anything. I'm reading this stuff, typing it up. Well, I typed it up before, and writing notes, and I'm just more confused. So I yesterday, I finally understood. For me, surrender is to be in the moment, to see what comes up. And that's darn hard for me because I have very little memory. Okay, so I'm moving towards, that's the end. Now I'm going towards the last month. So the things that I've been well, I was going to try to talk about that, but guidance tells me to read my the typewritten things that I had typed with guidance. It tells me to type things because I have 4 journals over the past 3 months that are full of cleaning. So I'm going to start from, oh yeah. Okay, some of the things have been coming up for me, really difficult, is illness. And so I have been self-inquiring the illness using Inner Ramana's self-inquiry, but guidance has also helped me. And it just tells me what it is. And I do this, and it told me illness is not inflation, it's a belief. Now, this is my guidance. Just be still and listen and obey. Do not think, just write. What would you have me do to be assured that I don't think? Love me. Just love. Be love. You are already that. Let all thoughts rise and fall. And what I found I'm telling you, just doing this homily and this preparation has given me so much insight. But during the whole process, over the past, I'd say 6 months, I'm understanding that love is how you surrender. Love is how I realize. Because love allows you to surrender and follow guidance. And that's what I just learned myself. I can't surrender not unless I love. And NTI says, it's Matthew 22, I remember that. It was one of my favorite things. It was saying, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Love your neighbor as yourself because he is yourself. So I'm going to finish this going, but loving God is loving yourself. There's only one thing going on here, and that's what's her name's Jacqueline saying. And let me tell you, for the past 3 weeks, that kept coming up after all these thoughts of, oh, I'm suffering, I have to. I wrote it down. Maybe I'll get it. But it was just unbelievable on how much stuff kept coming up. So the one thing that I learned over the past week is you think I've got it, but you don't. That loving God is loving yourself and loving the one. It's one. There's only one thing going on here. So every time I was going through I think I wrote them down. Let me just give you a little idea. I think. I'm going through my book again, and I'm going to stop. Anne tells me, I wrote things down, and when I went to her retreat, I kept looking for my stuff because I just don't remember. But you don't really have to remember. You honestly don't have to remember. You just have to be still and open up. Okay, so I'm going to start again with my guidance. Don't be afraid. Listen now. Illness, sickness is not what you think it is. It is a belief. Let go of the belief and be free now. What to do? I'm asking what to do. Do this call, and I had to call to make an appointment to do an ultrasound for my neck. Because I had a tumor in my carotid artery and had it taken out, and so there was something else growing there. So I was afraid to do this, but guidance told me to do it, so I did it. And it was, so I did it, and everything worked out. And the guy that I had was really excellent. He was detailed oriented. So he really did the best ultrasound I could have done. And that's what they have to do with your neck and your carotid artery. So, and it told me to check with me every step of the way. You know that you are love. Say, I am love, frequently to remember. What is the truth about my fears and my family members? About me. Do this when you think about family. Say, I am love. Should I write this? Yes, write legibly. I love you. About me calling now to get the appointment. Yes, get the appointment. It is true. I am clear. And do it as soon as possible. One thought at a time, moment to moment. Be in the present moment with your breath, with your heart center, attention. Please. Do it, please. What is true for me now? One thought at a time, moment to moment. Be in a present moment with your breath, in your heart center. Attention here, please. Try it now. This is how you start your meditation before you sleep, as you wake up. Try it now with your mantra. I am love. I am life. I am you. I love you. This is your devotion. So this was my devotion. It was love. And then I was able to do the mantra as much as I could remember. But I could do it from devotion. And I can do it as much as I could remember. Okay. This is how you love. You love your love. Awareness, loving awareness as it shows up. This will take you there or here now. This is how you know what you love. You know your devotion. Simple, yes. Try it now with your breath. Breathe. All thoughts are not true. All thoughts are not true. The truth is reality. What is always here is not born or die, is eternal. It can be said. It is what it is, and nothing else. Okay, I'm going to read one more guidance and then I'm going to move on to what I saw a video that Bentino just yesterday. It was on surrender, Bentino. And I'd like to, and he was talking about love too. So, and then also in Regina's book, 365 Days of Meditation, talks about love. You have to love yourself. You have to love. Okay. This is a more recent one. 10/15/23. And I'm still purging and I'm still cleaning, but I'm sorry I can't tell you more about that. But I'm sure you guys know what it is like. But it was just ongoing day after day after day after day. And I was sitting at my desk from morning until evening, writing, doing inquiry. So this one says practice is benefiting the whole. It's benefiting you, capital U, which means you, the whole, and small u. What is my purpose now? And I always are asking my purpose every month, every 3 weeks, just to make sure I'm on track. It's never really changed. Am I believing in separation? Not important now. That's what my guidance said. Distraction? Yes. It told me to pray. The distraction I'm having now is unbelievable. Every 3 seconds, I get distracted. I've never in my life have been distracted like that. I can start doing something and I look over there, oh, let me do that. It's just ongoing for the past 2 weeks. So I'm looking at it as for me to bring my distraction back to be surrender 24/7. That means to be with your inner self, or abiding in self, or being present 24/7. And, or you could say that the peace of God, what you want to be is present 24/7. And Regina, I see you there. Thank you for showing up. You're making me feel a little calmer. Because this has been a very, very trying time, and I'm still in the middle of it. As a matter of fact, 3 days, maybe a week ago, George said, "You are hostile. You're hostile." He said, "You're just like Jekyll and Mr. Hyde." But the only good, there's a blessing in all of this, a big blessing. I'm Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I'm reacting to everything he's saying. And, I'm kind of like raise my voice. And then 2 minutes later, it's gone. It's gone. And I'm having another conversation with him, if he can get over what I just did. And I'm just okay. Everything's okay. So distract. Oh, let me just finish this. This is the most recent. Distraction. It told me to pray, and that's what I'm going to have to do. I was just going to tell you about the value of this. Is it will bring me back to center. It will bring me back to surrender, because this distraction is a gift. I'm telling you, it's a gift. I'm thinking it's definitely a gift, because I can do it. I can do it with prayer and with God's will, because there's only one thing going on here. One thing going on. There's nothing else going on. We are all awakening and in our own process, and we have to trust the process. I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to tell you one of the best things that ever happened to me over the past 3 days. So thank you for being patient. Okay, this was 10:30:23. I exist as thought. For instance, I am whole, spirit, consciousness. This was a question to guidance. Ego, spirit, ego thought is always in the past or the future. I created a belief of a limited self, suffering. Is this true? There is a power. This is where I was just unbelievable, thinking there is no God. I'm going through all of this. Is there true? There is I never really thought that long, honestly. Is it true there is a power greater than self? I am. The I, the false, I cannot heal or understand this. This is guidance saying, there's nothing to understand. Spirit interpretation is in the present moment. The other thing I understood is, as I was going through this and I was asking guidance what to do, this really was painful for me, because I could see that I was still doing my practice. I still was doing my practice to base what I wanted to do. So guidance is telling me this, and I'm doing what guidance says for one moment, and then I'm saying, oh, I'm going to read this, or I'm going to do this, and not honestly believing that I am still planning or doing my practice where guidance is telling me what to do very nicely, calmly, clearly. And so that was something really I learned over the last 2 weeks, that I was still controlling my practice. After a year and a half, I'm still controlling my practice. So that again allows you to surrender. So all of this stuff allows you to see what you're doing. And if you're in trust and dedicated, you will see the gift in it, because there's definitely a gift in it, and you're still okay. There's nothing going on. I'm not ill or anything. Nothing's happening. My husband is still here. He hasn't left me yet. Okay, time's getting close. So I wish I could share all this other stuff, but the one thing I would love to say is, this is really the magic. Joy, it's going to take me 3 minutes to say this. Joy is a thought that was in Inner Ramana, in NTI, and everybody's saying it, and I never knew what joy was. I thought joy was a white man's happiness. I honestly did. I just couldn't understand joy. But a couple of days ago, after I did what Anne suggested, and it was her it was stuck patterns. I did that. I did it 3 different times, 3 different ways of doing it. And then the last way, the guidance gave me the way to do it. And that was beautiful. And so after I did that, and it was old stuff, it was like, the old stuff, guilt, blah, blah, blah. So the last 2 days, I was sitting down there and, feeling just not at peace. And then I was thinking about something was coming up, and I said, oh, that must be guilt again. And then guidance told me to get real. To get real. And I started laughing. To get real. So then I had this thought. The joy, I was sitting up there and I said, the joy of being empty in the present moment. That's what I was feeling. The joy of being empty in the present moment. And then I wrote some poems, a poem about joy. Let's see, maybe I can find it. Maybe I can't. Time is running out. Well, anyway, I wrote a poem about joy, and it was beautiful. And so the other thing that's happening is I am sitting in the I am, and I am so peaceful. And all I have to do is say, I'm resting in the I am, and I get there. And then I happened to listen to Angelo just a few days ago, yesterday, and he was explaining about sitting in the I am, and he was saying it was a reflective thing, and that made sense to me. So anyway, the journey goes on. I'm trusting the process. The joy of being empty in the present moment is fantastic. And I'm going to continue surrendering every moment until something else comes up. So thank you very much for listening to me. And if anybody has anything they like to say, I had a couple of songs. I'm going to leave it up to Sina. And this, for me, doing this homily was so valuable. I just can't remember what it was, but I don't have to remember. Oh, but I want to say one last thing. I have 1 minute. The last thing is, when I kept going through these purging things the last week, guidance was saying, there's only one thing going on here. After I did my question, self-inquiry, what am I? What am I? There's only one thing going on here. That's all I'm going to say. I'm giving the mic to Sina.
Been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.